Okay, this is the application I used. That's my desktop. I'm sorry. I'm playing with the PowerPoint. Alright, so we have the Canterbury Tales. My character was the Franklin. That's my information. So who is the Franklin? He is a wealthy landowner as well as a noble, and he enjoys being a noble very much. But he does share his wealth with a lot of people, and his role is to provide hospitality, and he does a very good job of doing that. He's quite literally known for giving hospitality. And he is very nice, and he showers his guests with food and drink to the point where Chaucer describes his house to be snowing with food and drink. So that says quite a lot about the Franklin. He believes in the philosophy of Epicurus, which is the way to happiness is through pleasure. Yeah, he displays that very well. He is known as in his region as Saint Julian, the saint of hospitality, and he engages multiple times in public services such as a sheriff, tax collector, and advisor to parliamentary sessions, all those jobs being the ones that, people are really infamous for, people who are rude. But he is not, and he is the best representative of his social class due to his hospitality, selflessness, and cheerfulness. I can't talk today. So his story involves two male characters and one main female. One of those males being Arviragus, a knight who wants a wife, and I can never say his name correctly. So he marries Dorigen, a lady, and the two vow to respect each other in all their actions. But the knight has to go to England for 2 years to serve. Meanwhile, Dorigen weeps and mourns for his loss, but he's not dead. He's actually just gone and serving and doing his duty. Her friends invite her to a dance to lift her spirits because they've noticed that she's been acting actually really, really sad. There, she meets Aurelius, the third main character, and he is described as being the most handsome man alive. He is young, strong, and healthy, discreet, and popular. And he secretly loved Dorigen for 2 years while Arviragus has been gone. So whenever he professes his love, she turns him down, but jokingly says that if he removes all the stones from the coast of Brittany, she will love him. And realizing that this task is pretty much impossible, Aurelius returns home and falls into depression, and his brother cares for him. Poor guy. I know how hard it is to be turned down. It's okay. So the second part of his tale. While Aurelius is sick for 2 years, his brother insists that a student has the ability to read ancient runes found in old books that are said to be magical. So Aurelius finds the student and offers him 1,000 pounds of gold if he could clear the coast of rocks and get with Dorigen. So pretty much the coast is cleared. Aurelius then finds Dorigen and asks her to keep her promise, but she is pretty much horrified and contemplates suicide in order to get rid of it. Or get out of it, sorry. But in the meanwhile, Arviragus returns. But although she doesn't want to, Dorigen honors her deal and leaves with Aurelius. But being the good guy that he is, Aurelius sees how upset Dorigen is and lets her return to her husband. But he's a really good guy. But even if everything did work out and Aurelius' plan went, swimmingly, he only had half the gold needed for the deal. So the student magician canceled the deal and the debt was entirely erased, like nothing ever happened. Sorry, Aurelius, you lost on both accounts. So this is my interpretation of the story. The Franklin insists that love, patience, and honor between any two in a couple lead to a successful marriage, and totally agree with that. And although she was just kidding, Dorigen's words were interpreted into a promise that Aurelius took seriously. Turns out that Arviragus was not above the law, quote, of Dorigen's spoken words or her promise, so he had to send her off and honor the deal. So in the end, the main point is that the marriage in the Franklin's tale is one of mutual consent, mutual obligation, and mutual trust and faith. Because the two lovers had to honor each other's words, and they pretty much had to honor the law that follows with making a promise in Dorigen's case. So my interpretation of the Franklin is Ken Stott from The Hobbit and all his special effects makeup, because the Franklin is actually described as having a white beard as well as being really respectable and happy and just this all-around great guy. And I think Ken Stott as the Franklin in how he looks really pulls that off, because I don't know, this picture just says that he really couldn't do a whole lot of bad. And from what I've seen in The Hobbit, this guy is great. He's just like an old grandpa, which is pretty much like how the Franklin is. So, moving on. My interpretation of, if my screen will load, is actually David Tennant as Chaucer / the narrator. And there's a picture. So he is actually said to be naive and quite the social butterfly in the general prologue, but the host calls him silent and sullen as it progresses, pretty much saying how he kind of makes himself out to be something that he really isn't. And although I'm really not familiar with David Tennant's work, this picture just looks like he's up to no good while still trying to keep a suave and cool attitude or demeanor about it. Anyway, that's my project. Thank you.